Hello and welcome to another one of Optics Trade Reviews. We're going to take a look at a Holosun open reflex red dot sight today, namely the 507C V2 model. Holosun is a fairly young brand, established in 2013, but they have experience in manufacturing red dot sights from before. Along with red dot sights, we can also find lasers and magnifiers in their offer. They're known for offering quality devices for an affordable price and for offering many innovative features such as solar cells on the housings, titanium housings, switchable reticles, illuminations of different color, and so on. This here is the second generation of the 507C model. The first generation models were introduced a few years ago and they soon became very popular. Especially among pistol and rifle users. And now a few months ago, Holosun came up with the second generation. And at the beginning of this review, I want to point out the differences between the first and the second generation. I have the first generation model here and the second generation model here, so you can take a look at it. You can already see the first difference. It has to do with the buttons. The first generation had small buttons. They were placed horizontally. New models have bigger buttons. They're placed vertically, which is much more intuitive, and it's also simple to memorize because the plus is on top and the minus is on bottom. The second difference has to do with the battery compartment. If you take a look here, you can see that with the old generation, the battery compartment was on the bottom. The user had to remove the dot from the firearm in order to change the battery, and once put back, the sight had to be re-zeroed if this supplied fixed mount was used. Now the battery compartment is here on the side, which makes the replacement of the battery a much easier process. Re-zeroing is also avoided, but Holosun had to move the compartment upward, so there is less space here, and they had to change the battery standard. Now it's CR1632 instead of CR2032. Accessing the battery compartment is easy. We just use the supply tool here. First you have to unscrew this screw here, and then you have to pry open the battery tray with this part here. So very simple, but it helps if you have the tool with you when you're doing that. So these are the only two notable differences between the first and the second generation model. No other notable differences. The form factor remains the same. So now I will go on and talk about features which also apply to the first generation. This is an open reflex sight. It is particularly used on handguns, but it can also be fixed on all rifles that have a Picatinny rail on top, since it comes with a fixed Picatinny mount. It is 45 millimeters long, 28 millimeters wide, and 30 millimeters high. With the adapter, the height is increased by a few millimeters, around 4. The sight weighs 42 grams, and with the adapter it's close to 70 grams. Even though this is an open reflex sight, a compact red dot, it is not as compact as some other red dot sights made by Noblex, Shield, Vortex, and others. If we take a look, for example, at Noblex Sight C, it is twice as light at 22 grams. So this is by no means a light open reflex sight. It is, however, much more robust than other typical open reflex sights. The frame here that surrounds the lens is much thicker and naturally much more durable. The lens is of standard size at 23 millimeters by 17 millimeters. If we put this fixed mount down, we can see that there is a Trijicon RMR footprint on the bottom. It is a standard that is not as common as the one found on Dr. Noblex sights. Still, some renowned European manufacturers offer some mounts for this footprint if you require something else from this fixed mount. The housing is made of CNC milled 7075 aluminum, which is a strong alloy, stronger than 6061 used on some other Holosun red dot sights. The numbers, so we have numbers 507. 5 stands for multi-reticle, switchable reticle. There are 3 possible settings. You have a 2 MOA dot, then you have a circle dot, and you have the circle only, and you can toggle between these by pressing the minus button. The second and the third number in this case just refer to the open reflex series of Holosun. C stands for solar cell. So there is solar cell on the lens frame. The buttons for regulating the illumination intensity are on the side where there's space for them. There are 2 modes to choose from. You can toggle between them depending on what you need. So you have automatic mode and you have a manual mode. In the automatic mode, the brightness of the reticle is automatically adjusted to match ambient lighting, whereas in manual mode, the user can toggle between 12 illumination intensity settings. The reticles can be switched from one another in all the 2 modes, so in auto and in manual, which wasn't the case with some older models where you had to have the manual mode chosen to toggle between the reticles. There are adjustment screws for the elevation and for windage right here. You rotate and make these screws and make adjustments with this tool. At least this is the easiest way, so you just do it like so. The screws produce crisp clicks, which is excellent since you don't need any additional tools for zeroing except for this. With some other sights, a scale is needed, which you insert here and then you rotate because the screws don't produce clicks, but this is not the case here. The screws, when rotated, they move stiffly, but I mean that in a positive way because you can feel each click nicely. The clicks are 1 MOA, which is around 1.5 centimeter of movement at 50 meters. There are small holes, if you can see them, on each side here. They work as drain holes, so they're really useful if it is raining when you're using this sight, as the water won't accumulate in this place here in between the diode and the lens. It will flow through the drain holes, so you won't have to turn the firearm around or something to get the water out of here. 50,000 hours are set by Holosun to be the battery life on a mid setting, so on setting 6, which is interesting since this Holosun uses a smaller battery. It might be a little bit less, but we cannot check that right now. It has a tilted objective lens. With every Holosun red dot sights and with much other red dot sights on the market, so many others, the lens is tilted. This is because only this way the beam projected by the LED can reflect to the user's eye regardless of its position. So it emits a beam and then it reflects from the lens, and if it wasn't tilted it wouldn't go back into the user's eye regardless of its position. So this is crucial to have. It's not an error as many people think. It is IP67 verified, meaning that it grants complete protection against dust and protection up to 1 meter of water depth for half an hour. It features a true 1x magnification, meaning that you can easily use it with both eyes open. Some blue tint can be observed when looking through the lens, especially on the sides, but nothing major. 12 illumination intensity settings. Two lowest are night vision device compatible. The highs work great in strong daytime brightness. I will show you all the reticle illumination levels at the end of this video. I already mentioned the switchable reticle. You just move through the reticles by pressing the minus button for 3 seconds, and by pressing the plus button you switch between solar and manual mode. It features Holosun's innovative shake-awake function, meaning that if you leave the sight stationary for a while, and the illumination will power off, and then when you need it, when you grab it, it will power back on in an instant when it detects movement. The price is around 400 euros, and the warranty is 5 years on the material and 3 years on the electronics. We've got to the end of this review, and I will now point out some advantages and some disadvantages, or with other words, what is great and what could be improved. What I like is everything that the version 2 brings. So it brings larger buttons, much easier to click, much easier to memorize without having to look at them when you make adjustments to the reticle intensity. The battery has been moved to the side, which is a welcome change. Now you don't have to remove it from the firearm to install the battery. 12 illumination intensity settings, which is enough for all lighting conditions. A useful solar cell on top, so you can still use the sight if the battery dies, and the whole package of the form factor, so the durability, the strength, etc. Its disadvantages are that it's a little bit bulky for an open reflex sight, so if you opt for a smaller size when it comes to the sights of this type, you won't like this one, because some other sights, like for example Noblex Sight C, weigh twice less. The blue tint still hasn't been removed, so there's still some on the sides. I already said that it's nothing major, but worth pointing out. And I have to mention, now I have the circle dot set, but if we change that to, the normal 2 MOA dot, in just a second. So it's right here. The 2 MOA dot might still be too small for some pistol users. Pistol users usually go for bigger dot sizes, such as 6-7 MOA. And if you prefer bigger dot size, you should definitely check 407-507K Holosun red dot sights out. They're now in middle of May 2020, still in production, so they still haven't been launched, but I think that it's going to happen soon. Okay, so if you value durability when it comes to open reflex sights, this is currently one of the best choices. There are still titanium versions if you prefer even more durability and even more robustness, but this will do in most situations. It also offers plenty of advanced features, such as a solar cell, quality elevation and windage adjustments, 12 illumination intensity levels, and other features which are sure to come in handy. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it useful, click like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any additional questions, drop us a comment down below and we'll try to answer you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching and see you next time.